Mike, why don't you lead us through some recent changes in rules and just some beneficial changes in law as it pertains to special needs planning?
The first thing I'd like everybody to be aware of is the ABLE Act. It's federal legislation that has been implemented in California, and basically it means that anybody can put up to $18,000 a year into an account. It's like a 529 plan in the sense that it grows tax-free. It can hold up to $100,000, and none of it interferes with eligibility for government benefits. In some ways, there's more flexibility with an ABLE Act account than there is with a special needs trust. Money remaining in that trust when the child passes away, there's not a payback to the state. And what I like about them is that the child herself can be the manager of the account. Many kids are not able to work, but let them have a little bit of money in an ABLE Act account. It can hold up to $100,000, but rarely do we recommend that you do that. Maybe it's going to hold $3,000, $4,000. And again, you let the child herself manage that money, have a checkbook. You can imagine how many issues that can address in a very supportive way. It's like respectful of your child. So you need to know about these vehicles. They do not replace a special needs trust. They can be complementary. They're part of the planning process. One of the options for you to know about and for you to think about. The issue that we worry so much about is that if somebody is facing a mental health crisis, bipolar, schizophrenia, for whatever combination of reasons, it usually takes a crash and a burn before the system can intervene. The person must become a danger to herself or others before something called a 5150 that you might have heard about, before that can be imposed, so that the person can be hospitalized, be given psychotropic drugs. A series of protections come into play, but only in extreme circumstances. And parents go crazy. They can see their child cruising down the wrong path. They can see it coming, but they can't do anything. So we now have the care courts, which are one of two options that enable folks in limited circumstances to intervene before the crisis happens. So it is available in our counties locally here. I believe it's in all counties, but I'm not sure about that. Counties have to implement this. So
it's a positive development.
So the individual who might be the focus of a care court initiative is given a tremendous amount of support. They get a lawyer, and they get an advocate as well. So the idea here is to be non-intrusive, to be supportive, but not wait until somebody becomes suicidal or attacks somebody else to go to extremes. There's also something called Laura's Law, which we don't have up here, which is another way of intervening before the crisis happens. There are some gentle movements in that direction, thank goodness. The McGee case, it's just worth mentioning, we do track legislation. We do track court cases that bear on these issues. The only thing to say about the McGee case is that it reinforces everything that Mark and I have said about the flexibility that a trustee has when it comes to using money in the special needs trust. The McGee case basically says, yes, a trustee should have great flexibility. They know better than the courts. Judges shouldn't be second guessing these things. So it reinforces everything that we've been saying.
Britney Spears concert tickets. Or Taylor Swift.
There you go.
That's probably okay. So this may not be an issue for many people here, but it's really important to know about estate and death taxes. There is a big cliff coming. Let's talk briefly, because this may impact many families, especially in the Bay Area or the more affluent parts of California, the estate and the gift tax. There's a big change coming. Now, currently, you can pass up to $13.61 million per person. That, for a couple, that's over $27 million to your kids or anybody else, tax-free. There's no estate or gift tax on the first $27 million for a couple, or $13.61 million per person. But there's a cliff coming. And that cliff is coming most likely on January 1st, 2026. At that time, barring a major and unexpected change in law, the Tax Cut and Job Act that was passed, I think, in 2017 will sunset. When it sunsets, the estate tax exemption will be cut in half. It's indexed with inflation, so it'll go from about 14 million a person to about 7 million a person, most likely. Now, you might think, well, that's not a big, maybe it doesn't impact you. And to be clear, it's a good problem to have. But if you own a house in many parts of California, that alone might get you close to it, especially if you're single. Keep in mind, life insurance, unless it's in a special trust, is part of your estate. A future inheritance is part of your estate. Retirement accounts are part of your estate. So if you're even close to those numbers, you need to be aware of this, because it's use it or lose it. As in, when the exemption drops, if you don't use the larger exemption before it drops, you don't, like, if you gave away 7 million when it was 14 million a person, you have 7 million left. If it drops to 7 million, you might think, well, oh, I'm good, I had 7 million left. And that's not the case. If you don't use all 14 million before the deadline, you lose that opportunity forever. we know this is not an issue for many families, but if you're close to this, and these numbers are the rules of thumb we're kind of thinking about. If you're single and you have a net worth of over 5 million, or a couple with a net worth of over 10 million, we have to be aware of this. We have to talk about this. There are so many tools we can use to reduce or eliminate estate taxes if we plan ahead. And of course, we're going to know a lot more after the November elections, which who freaking knows what's going to happen there. This is the most crazy time maybe in modern political history, but we have to be ahead of the game. So we can help with this. If you face these issues, talk to us.
Sure. And keep in mind, the estate tax is a 40% tax.
Yeah, it's punishing. 40% of what you work so hard for and already paid taxes on, income tax, is going to be taken again. So it's often we talk about politicians proposing a wealth tax, and there's foreign arguments for and against it. The estate tax really is a wealth tax. It's a one-time tax, but it is a wealth tax. So, but you don't have to be super wealthy for it to hit you if you own a house in certain parts of California. So now let's tie this together. Let's talk about a special needs planning checklist. If you have a child with special needs or a loved one with special needs, what are the steps you need to take? What do you need to pay attention to? Well, first, you have to make sure that you have a comprehensive estate plan in place. Your plan is only as good as the weakest link. You have to have up-to-date living trust that is the right structure, up-to-date backup trustees, powers of attorney, advanced directives. There's other trusts you can create for other kids if they don't have special needs, family protection trust, dynasty trust, very powerful tools you can put into place. Do you have the right living trust structure? Do you have the right successor trustees? Do you have a child or grandchild with a disability? Is the special needs trust in place? Is it up to date? Did you set up other trusts for your other kids? We have many talks about family protection trusts. It's not just special needs planning. If you have other kids who don't have special needs, we can protect them as well. You have a larger estate. Have you planned for the exemption dropping? Have you made annual gifts to your loved ones? Are other family members potentially going to leave money for the benefit of your child with a disability? Have you coordinated with them? Do they know you have a special needs trust in place? If you own California real estate, have you dealt with Prop 19 and property taxes? Have you reviewed your financial and insurance plan? When was the last time you worked with an advisor or had someone review your financial plan, your insurance plan? We can help with all of this, of course. Like this is what we do. We are not financial advisors. We're not insurance brokers, but we have an amazing network. People can help, and we can make sure the estate planning side is covered. And again, it's not just the special needs trust. You need to have all these other tools up to date. Revisit your plan at least every 3 to 5 years. And I think it's really important. Our team is not just Mike and I. We have 7 estate planning attorneys now. We just added to our team, and we have over 140 years now, 120, 140 years of experience, not just us. So we have a team that can help you. We all work as a team. I just want to revisit the concepts I talked about at the beginning. When you are dealing with special needs plan, let's tie this back to the beginning. You may feel like I'm afraid to die, but hope is not a strategy. Let's control what we can control. And there are very few high leverage moments in life where you take one step now and it can reverberate across multiple generations. It can mean the difference between an abundant and wonderful life for your child with special needs or one where they're virtually abandoned and there are no resources available for them. Make sure you have that comprehensive estate plan in place. Let's control what we can control. Let's make sure that you're not leaving it up to chance, and don't rely on California voters to bail you out if you have property tax issues. So if you work with us already, let's set a meeting. Let's review your plan. If you haven't, we invite you to join our client community. Reach out to us at gilfix.com or 650-493-8070. Easy to find us. Set that planning meeting. Let's review it. The stakes are too high to leave this to chance. If you haven't subscribed to our Gilfix Law YouTube channel, subscribe to it. Easy to find us. We're up to about 3,000 subscribers at the time of this. Hopefully by the time you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be even more. But if you are watching this on YouTube, like, comment, share, leave a question or comment for us if you have any questions. Talk to us if you're not sure. Just talk to us. A little bit of planning can have massive impacts on the future.